So yeah, let's jump into divination.
Yes.
How long have you been using cards and divination tools?
Okay. So I started with the tarot. Well, yeah. I was gonna say, I've read books and all these things in channeling as a kid. But I think when I really started practicing, I got my first tarot deck when I was in my junior year of high school.
Okay.
So that's kind of when I started playing around with that. And I want to say I've always had a tarot deck since then. Now, has it been the same one? No. But throughout life, I've, always managed to keep one by my side. Most people know what divination is, but just for those that don't know, like divination defined, by the Webster Dictionary or
hmm
whatever, is a way of foretelling the future or seeing the unknown
hmm
by means of supernatural.
Oh,
So that's the definition, right? So what do you think? What is
well,
your idea of divination? I think it's, yes, a way that we connect to that spiritual side of us, that way that we connect to our subconscious, that way that we do connect to that supernatural, that divine within us, which is why it's divination.
yeah, no, I agree. I don't like the term supernatural in this context because it makes it sound like it's out of the ordinary, which I don't think it is.
Oh
Energetics, just
yeah.
like everything else, is just part of normal life. But yeah, divination, and it's not only for, to me, it's not only for the future. So when I started a few years ago, when I
Same.
started using them, it wasn't so much for the future as it was for the present moment and what needs to be healed, what needs to be looked at. So I think people might think about divination in terms of fortune telling and somebody,
Mhm.
looking at a crystal ball or using cards, etc., to divinate the future. But I think it's more so useful for the present moment. That's my opinion. And with my
Yes.
clients, I that was just that's what came through also. So maybe I'm just not the type of reader that will channel information so much about the future. To me, really, the information that was coming through was about now or the past. Sometimes the past would come up, right? Oh, this happened in your childhood. This is how it's affecting you
Mhm.
now, etc. So sometimes that would happen too. But yeah, I love all the tools. So I have a few here. I have a few decks of my own. It's funny because I started with the decks because really I felt called to. Spirit was pushing me to go get a tarot deck. And I was like, I don't know the first thing about tarot. And they're like, no, you're going to do this. It was a little bit like, go, go, push, push. So I did. I got one and I started learning about it a little bit, started using some cards. And then I just kind of let the cards go and just did the readings without the cards.
Yeah.
Then when doing events and things like that, people like the cards. They like the visuals. They like the
Yeah.
artwork. They're so beautiful. And that's why then I got a few more because they're useful in their own way, I think. Are they necessary? I don't think so, but they're very useful in their own way and each has their own theme and I like that too. It's kind of like just getting a book and opening it to any page and finding guidance there.
That's funny that you say that. So I want to mention a couple of things, but I want to go back to that. It's like opening up a book to a page, and it is just like what's in the moment, and it's very just what is.
hmm
But I used to do that. Okay, well, just disclaimer, guys. I was raised Christian, non-denominational Christian, so that was very strong in my upbringing. And when I was a kid, before I had tarot, I would do that with the Bible, and I would just open it up to like any page. Psalms would be my favorite because they have the just basic sentence.
hmm
But that's how I would do it. I would use the Bible as a tool of divination, honestly. I'd be like, okay, what do I need to know today, God? Boom, open it up. I'd read the scripture. I would apply that scripture to how I could, apply it in that day. And so, yeah, it's the same with the tarot. It's like what you need to hear, what you can resonate with, just comes to you in that moment.
Yeah. I want to back up 2 seconds. Who as a child? How did you get the idea of doing that? Was it just by yourself, or did somebody show you that you could do this? It's
I
just
did it by myself. Yeah. Well, because, there's so many times that I tried reading the Bible straight from the beginning to end, which
Mm,
almost feels impossible. It's so overwhelming with the lingo and the language, and I did it so many times and it wasn't working. So I was like, well, what if I just take it into parts?
mm,
Yeah, I read parts, and that's kind of what pastors do. And
right.
they really take it into parts, dissect just maybe two or three scriptures during a sermon. And they just connect it, and then they interpret it and how they see the scriptures relative in life. So, I mean, in all honesty, they're not the say all be all. They are just
Mm,
interpreting it.
right.
And yeah, so when I was like, okay, well, the best thing to do for me to get through it is to start it piece by piece, right? So I was like, that's what I'll do. I'll just do it piece by piece. And so I started doing that with the Bible. I'd be like, okay, every day I would open up to a page and I'd read a message from God, and that would be my message. And then it was cool because, sometimes I would get to the same ones actually. I mean, and if you're just opening sporadic,
Right.
it's amazing that that would even happen. And I always felt guided. I always felt that there was information in it. Again, it doesn't have to be, I might have been on a story, right?
Right.
Of Ruth, or of, you know, it just any of the stories in the Bible, the people, Mark, Luke, John. But I could take that story and I could just apply it as a metaphoric,
Mhm.
right? As what was the lesson, and what can I learn, or what can I could take on from that, and what was it trying to say in a positive light?
Mm.
And so, yeah, that's that's
A
what I
very wise child.
Oh, thank you. You're always so nice. Um, but so before we got to that, I did want to say some more things about divination in itself. And it doesn't have to be just cards.
Right.
And I agree with you, Alex. When I read the dictionary definition, I was like, oh gosh, the word supernatural. I was like, and future. Oh, that triggered me, right? I was
Mm.
like, it's not just the future. So I wanted to bring that up because I really thought we could discuss that our perception of divination compared to the general perception. And at the same time, the general definition says, yes, unusual means.
Right.
Does that mean it's non-existent?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it just means it's unusual. Just like the word supernatural, it just means, oh, that's how we define the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But is it not there? Nowhere does it say that it's not real, it's not true, it's not there. It's just
Right.
saying it's not the norm. But what if it was the norm, right?
Right.
Because, like you said, it's just a connection of spirit. It's something everyone can do.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to bring that up. That was really good that you immediately pointed on your thoughts about the definition. And then I want to talk to you about, in my perspective, there's really only one way, right, of divination, but there's two um, topics. There's two branches of divination. There's internal divination and external divination.
Mm, okay.
So far, we've been talking about external, like the Bible
Cards.
or
Mm-hmm.
cards, or there's things such as pendulums and ruins, and sign synchronicities and numerology. People
Right.
external divination. But all of those in my mind are really training wheels, right? Like you said, you
Yes.
got to a point where you knew that the intuition was inside of you. You knew that the connection was within yourself. And it's still fun to go back to that
Mm-hmm.
because, again, it does help other people. Maybe it doesn't make it so scary.
Right.
I've noticed
Yeah.
that when I could just tell people things about them by looking, they're like, "Ooh, oh, oh, she's maybe too much, too powerful." Or
Yeah.
it's safer when people can
True.
see something, um,
Mm-hmm.
validating the intuition that you're getting. But for me, internal divination would be, yeah, just like breathing. We all have it, that the six senses, right? The clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, the seeing, the knowing, the touching, the feeling, the empath abilities, like you said, because it's all energy and we're all connected. So
Yeah, it's so much part of who we are that it shouldn't even have to be discussed.
mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just one of the things that we do so naturally, yet we don't know that we do it, or we don't know how to do it because we're just kind of out of practice. You know, a lot of people, they're like, wow, like how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. It's like this is just how it is. And you could do it too, by the way,
Do it too.
you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, and I love how you mentioned before that the validation when you see them, because it's almost like there's that lack of trust a little bit. I
Mhm.
wouldn't say, scared, but the lack of trust a little bit of, oh, you could be just making all of this shit up. But
Mhm.
then when you're just pulling cards in front of them, there's like no way that I had prearranged cards. And so you see, so they're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, if the cards say it, it's
Yeah.
almost like we're so trained to give more power to the scene, you know, that is just, I would trust, people would trust the cards more than just somebody saying something to them.
Yes, because they trust the external more than they trust themselves. So then they reflect that onto you.
Yeah.
Until they can trust themselves, then they don't trust you. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Of
they
course.
can only trust at the level that they, again, so everything is a reflection and everything is a mirror. But yeah, that's, so I like that. I like
So
that.
let's talk more about this external internal balance. I think, and for me, I wanted to add, when I stopped using the cards, it's also because I didn't make so much of an effort to learn the tarot. There's
Mhm.
so many, like every card has their own lengthy definition of things. I was like, I'm not learning all this. I'm sorry. So
Same.
okay, thank you. So it's not just me lazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't learn all of this. So I decided to just trust myself more than the cards. I mean, more than my interpretation of the dictionary of the card.
Yes. The
And
general basic. And that's
yeah,
a bouncing off. They create it as a bouncing off point. It's not supposed to be the
yes.
end all.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, totally. So I think that's the main idea behind divination. I think the essence of it is just trusting in your own self. So in your own intuition, just like you said before, and it's
Mhm.
just a tool. I find one of the most important things that happened in my intuitive development was to practice with other people. So that was doing readings, because it validated, oh, the things that are coming up for me in this way are valid for the other person. So it gave me that confidence, it gave me that sort of validation that I'm on the right track, and that the things that are coming up are not just my imagination in the, negative sense. So I would encourage anybody to do readings for others more so
Mhm.
than for yourself, because for yourself you tend to be, a little bit biased in any card that
Mhm.
comes up or whatever guidance. But if you do it for other people, that would really, I think, propel you on a intuitive journey, really.
The more you practice, the more you do, it's like you said, really an internal calibration, right? It's all just learning how you interpret and how it comes to you and you're not gonna know unless you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's said, one of my teachers quoted a long time ago, so this is always stayed in my heart. You can only it's harder to read yourself than it is to read others, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have so many more filters on ourselves. Like it's much harder. It's easier for others to kind of reflect to us
Mm-hmm.
to the extent that are clear. The more clarity we have, the more like healed or clear-minded is to the extent that we can clearly see others. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like a It's almost like a contradiction that I just said. It's like it's easier to read others, but at the same time, you become a better reader of others, the better you can see yourself. So inner clarity and is what the goal is. But it's still always hard to, yeah. But if you want to get better at reading yourself, then yeah, read as many people as you can, because that really helps reflect to you where you need healing as well. We usually attract those who have matching pictures, who
Oh
have
yeah.
matching traumas, who have matching. Have you ever noticed that when you do readings, you seem to go in groups like I do, where I'll get a group of people that are all dealing with father issues, or all dealing with sister issues, or all dealing with relation, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like you get those as a reflection. They come to you as almost a way to self-heal as
Yeah.
well. So it's really interesting. And so you can tell almost how your evolution process is going by what you attract, and who and what kind of people you
Mm-hmm.
attract for healing as well. So there is really, again, we're all one and there's this amazing connection, but reading is, yeah, it's a really wonderful, intimate way to get in touch with your spirit, your higher self, to keep balance, the mind, body, and spirit.
Totally. At the end of the day, it comes back to connecting to spirit. So connecting to yourself, connecting to spirit. And divination is just one of those tools that allows you to do that, right? And
Mhm.
so let's talk a little bit about the energy behind divination. So how
Mm.
how does that happen that I would pick exactly the right card for the person that's in front of me, right? And it's exactly representative of what they're going through. How can that be out of like 78 cards in a deck, for example? How can that happen?
That's
What's your
really interesting. I could say two different things, and they would be from two different perspectives. One would be a very scientific, physical kind of definition, that when you and that person, your auras are touching energetically, like the cards, right, are in your auric space. You can feel your energy moving. And so it's not so much, we like to put our power in other things, right? Like with the power of the tarot, it has the answers, and maybe it's God's hand moving them as we shuffle.
right?
But really, just like with this, it's feeling the flow, see, of the energy, and it's moving.
Is that the
That's kind of,
Fool?
oh, is it? Yes, it is. At the beginning,
So
the
you
very
mean like
first one.
trusting and all these things?
New journeys.
Uh-huh.
So, so like physically, yeah, it is connecting to your energy, and your energy has an intelligence,
Hmm.
right? Your energy is connected. It is you. We are a body in a spiritual ball, right?
Right.
In our body is in our spirit, not our spirit in our body. So, yeah, our spirit has this intelligence, our energy has this intelligence, and our energies are always communicating with others and ourselves. Now, from another perspective, I could say it doesn't even matter what card you get, because intuition
Hmm.
decides it all. And I could see this card and I can get 1 million interpretations from it. And the
Totally.
interpretation that needs to come at that moment by what I'm reading intuitionally from whatever perspective I'm in that moment, or the vibration that I'm connecting to that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It will put almost a filter, and I will see exactly what needs to be seen, and I will say exactly what needs to be said. And that's trust. But that's
Hmm.
trust in the internal and not the external. But the external, like I said, is a training wheel, right? It's
Yeah.
just gets the energy moving, and it's a good starting off point. So I might not get any internal information, and I might say, okay, well, I can start off by looking at this, what stands out to me. And it's a great jumping board, right, to then allow the juices to
Yeah.
flow.
Hmm.
So, and that's all divination is, all about. It's kind of like a gateway to your inner world, into your inner dimensions of yourself. But in the end, it is not about giving your power to the cards. It's not about giving your power or giving authority to some external divine through that means. It's really a tool to get in touch with yourself. It's that stepping stone to step into that realm of your spirituality. And eventually, just like training wheels, like you said, all of us can do it. It would be so wonderful to see everybody completely, confidently trusting their own divinity and their own intuition, their own inner guidance. And it's still fun to have these things, but to not give your power to them. There's the difference.
Yeah, so
Using
true.
them, but not giving your power to them.
Yeah, that's fundamental for every aspect in life, whether it be cards or just somebody else in your life, right? Sometimes we just feel like we have to get the answers outside of ourselves, right? We have to get the answers on Google. We have to get the answers somewhere, where actually, as we learn and as we grow, we find out that the answers have always been within. We're just too scared sometimes to trust it or look
Yeah.
there. And I loved how you talked about the energy, right? And how it works for divination. I totally agree with you. It's either, or it's both, actually. It's both spirit and your energy kind of pulling the cards that need to come up. I believe sometimes it could be spirit guys just kind of like, just
Yeah.
this
And
one.
I do believe, yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
that could happen, but yes, you're totally right. Any card will do. I think the right message will come through you if you allow it to, right? If you trust it and if you allow it to, whatever the card may be, it's just gonna come.
Yeah, I wanted to give another example of energy reading. So like pendulums are a good example because they're built on the fact that your chi is moving, right, through your
Mm-hmm.
body and that it's picking up. So right now it's saying yes,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just moving. I'm not
Right.
moving my hand, I'm holding it as still as possible, but it's reading the energy. So that's like the aura. But
Right.
where does that come from? Right? That comes
Right.
from our spirit's internal knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we don't know the answer, say I want to ask a question, yes or no, now it's turning and it's saying no. Even though I don't consciously know the answer to consciously move the pendulum, it's reading my auric energy, which is
Mm-hmm.
connected to my superconscious, which does know the answer. So it's bypassing, right? In a
Right.
way, still coming from spirit. The pendulum is not the God,
Mm-hmm.
it's my own knowing, but
It's just
that,
reading the energy.
but
The
it's
pendulum
reading
is
the
reading
energy.
energy. Right.
So when you can read energy, you can see the truth,
Right.
basically. So
Yeah,
that's it.
because you're bypassing the conscious or the 3D
Yeah,
mind.
you're bypassing the illusions of the physical or so again, it all goes down to energy. No, I'm always gonna bring it there though. I'm always gonna bring it.
I feel like we both have our things where it kind of always gets there. It always goes there. Energy, unity, consciousness. That's always the answer.
That's the underlining fabric of our
Yeah.
existence. And what makes us all one is on that energetic vibrational level. So
There you go. I feel like we should end or at least continue the episode on divination with like divination. But do you want to pull a
ooh,
card or something?
sure, yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, so yeah, I've just got the classic
Hmm.
rider deck. I brought because I brought the pendulum. I wanted to show different ways of
Yeah.
divination.
What
I
else do
also
you have?
brought my angel one, which is the oracle.
Hmm.
Um, we talked about what opening books of pages. What are other divination tools that are out there? The
You want to
wheel and
talk about the numbers? How
yeah,
how can
yeah.
sacred numbers um be used as a divination tool?
It's so what's really cool is that numbers are very connected to vibrations and frequencies. So they seem to be a very like sacred geometry, very
Hmm.
core aspect of divination in the fact that like mathematically, our whole existence, our whole reality is all like the fabric making would resonate with numbers. So there's this basic form of numerology where you can, just basically know 1 through 9. 0 counts as an amplifier, so it doesn't really count as a separate number, but it amplifies whatever number it comes after or before. So with numerology, it's just very basic, almost compared to synergy. Like 1 represents individual or beginnings, 2 would equal relationships and coming together, unions, 3 represent communication, or so every vibration, every number represents something different. And so again, that's a really cool jumping off point for if we're seeing those numbers over and over, it's just a sign or a message again from our internal being. And it just draws our attention to those numbers at that specific moment. So those numbers are always there, but it's how we perceive them in the moment that give us that connection and the message to our higher self. Did I answer?
Yes. Yeah.
Did I go off?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think people also say, as a concrete example, my husband and I, for years, we would see the number 911 like every day, morning, evening, all the time. And we weren't looking for it. It was just like, we end up, what time is it? Oh, 9/11, of course. It's like always 9/11, right? So and for a long time, we didn't know what to make of it. And then one day I was like, I guess for me, it just started meaning that like we're on the right path. And I just took it as that. And we said, let's settle it at this, because we're like, I don't know what this means, right? And this was like before, the whole spiritual awakening and things like that. So what would you say to people just seeing the same number over and over again? Like that one, for example, and just how do I interpret that?
So again, the numbers are just a way for your spirit to communicate to you. And it's because we put relevance in something that our spirit says, "Ooh, okay, they're paying attention to this or something." And so we're gonna present it to them like this. And even when you weren't on the spiritual path, it was something that numbers are very, it's a very basic symbol. So it's something that everyone can kind of resonate with or understand. And so even though you weren't seeing it from a metaphysical standpoint, then it was something that caught your eye, right? It was a pattern that would catch your eye. So that's why spirit kept using that as the tool. It's funny because 911 just came to me last week and I just interpreted it for myself. So I'll share my interpretation, which is really cool. So 9 equals completion. And so I read numbers like that as a sentence. So I'm like 911. What is the individual meaning? And then how would I make it a sentence? So it'd be 9 is completion, 1 is individual, and 1 another individual. So that's 2 individuals. Completion, I would say, it's a twin flame number, right? I would see it as 2 coming together in completion. I wonder if that was about around the time you guys got married.
Yeah, it was after we got married, actually, and moved in together. Yeah.
So that's why you were seeing that specific number. Because see, I could intuitively just read something that happened to you through a number, but really it's because I trusted my interpretation of the number, right? Not because I was like, oh, I know you got married at that time. No, it was like I read it and it came. So I was like, I bet you. So it's been coming up with me because I just moved in with my beloved, and it's completion of 2 coming together in union. So it's same. So I saw it as individual numbers. You can also use numerology to add it up. So with numerology, 9 is kind of a non-existent number. Whatever you add it to, it doesn't change the end result. So I kind of skip 9. You just skip 9 because see 9. Okay, you've got the 9.
I would have done 9 plus 1 plus 1, which would be 11. So 2. Well, I guess, you don't need the 9. I see what you mean. Okay.
See, so you even if you were to add it or not add it, it would still equal 2. So a quick way to do the math is equals 2. So then after I read it as a sentence, I read the complete number. The completion of it equals 2, which is relationships. So not only two individuals coming in union, but it equals 2, which equals
Mm,
relationships, couples,
cool.
2, so then you see it on the whole, and then you can really get, just like with a card, you can see the different things and you get a full paragraph or story. The same thing you can do with numbers. You
Mm,
can read them and you kind of just start to create this story around the information. If it means something to you specifically, most likely that's going to be the message
right.
versus the general message.
Yeah, okay, so we spoke about
We
cards.
just,
We
yeah, we just
spoke
did
about
numerology.
numbers.
Now
Yeah. Yeah, that was
let's
cool.
do a card.
Let's see. Yeah, let's get a card then. Let's go.
All right, I haven't picked one yet. So
Okay,
do
let's
you
do it.
have, you have a deck as well, or
I'll pick
what
one, yeah.
kind of divination are you gonna do? Maybe you'll do an oracle or something like that.
Yeah, I wanted to use the this one, the Angel Wisdom Tarot. Oh, it's a tarot from
Okay,
Radley Valentine, just because I've been really feeling connected to the angels lately, so I figured let's take this one.
perfect. All right, I shuffled, none of them jumped out, so I'm gonna pick the one on top.
Mhm.
Ah, the Queen of Energy. That
Ooh,
would represent
there you go.
me. But it also represents every single person who's listening, because we are talking about you using your energy, connecting to your higher self, stepping into that intuitive being, right? The queen,
Mm,
sovereign, the ruler of your universe, and sitting on that throne, not you sitting on your throne of destiny, from that place of trust and power and wisdom and knowledge. And the wands represents, that fiery and spiritual nature. So there's 4 elements in the tarot deck, and wands would be that, I would say, spiritual connection, magic, energy. So that's why I would say the queen of energy. But again, there's so many different things you can see. Like, first thing standing out is the black cat. That's
mm.
the main thing I see in this card, which also I feel represents me. I have a deep connection with cats and Basset from ancient Egypt. And so again, that would just verify that the card was meant, for a connection for me. And who knows what you guys might see. I hope it also connects with you. But that's just an easy, quick, general, you know, how to get some information from pulling one card.
I love it. Thank you for that. I picked, so from this Angel Wisdom Tarot, I picked the wise, I didn't pick, I mean, I drew the wise counselor. It's this guy.
Mm,
Wait, let's see. There you go.
I love
Wise
it.
counselor. It says here, unity with a spiritually minded community. Ask the divine for help and trust the answers will come. Compare traditional methods with new ideas to see which is best for you. I think this is a wonderful card to pull on a divination episode.
Yes, I think it literally just like
Right?
well-roundedly completed and said exactly what this whole episode was about.
Totally. And I love
Beautiful.
this visual too, because here, I don't know what this would be the equivalent of in the regular, I mean, original tarot. The Hierophant.
The Hierophant.
That one. Yeah, it's that
Okay.
one. Because so here you see all these different symbols, right? You have the cross, you have the Star of David, you have um the the yin yang. So you have everything. So it's kind of, you have all these methods or all these beliefs at your disposal, and you get to pick, you get to decide how you want to live your life, which one of these you want to abide by. You get to pick, where do you want to align yourself with. And this guy, I like how he has the keys right here, on his hips, because it's kind of like you have the key to your own development, to your own wisdom, to your own inner oracle. And so you're always in charge of that. So for me, this is really amazing. It just says whatever tool you need, just use that, right? Explore it, try new ideas, try new things, and don't be closed-minded, right? You have a plethora of ways to get to know yourself better. So I love this card. This is wonderful.
I think that's perfect and well said. You realize that you are so grand and so amazing and just so magnificent, and the magic is all around you. There's no going back.
Hmm.
There's no going back.
Yeah. It's when you realize just how connected you are to everything. That's where I feel like there is
Yeah.
no going. You cannot see yourself as separate anymore after that. But
Yeah.
also just for it's not even validate. You know what? The feeling for me, it's always like, oh, of course, this is the card.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, of course.
I knew. I know.
Like there was no better card in the moment. And whatever card I would have picked, I would have said, of course, this is the card.
See, that's what I was
That's
going back
it.
to.
That's it.
You would have still got the right message no matter what card picked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. I want to do say this
Hmm.
is again with giving your power away. When you're looking for a coach or a teacher or a guide, it's not someone to tell you what to do or how to live your life or what your path is. What you want to search for is somebody who gives you the power back to yourself, who teaches you how to be your own guide, who
Yes.
shows you the way to your inner self and find the direction that way, because you know your path. You chose your blueprint.
Hmm.
And so be very, I don't want to say wary, but
Mindful. Hmm.
mindful, yeah, of there are people out there that are there to absorb your energy and power, because that, and
Makes
there's
them feel good.
yeah, or
Hmm.
yeah, and then there's people that want you to own your own power. And so when finding a coach or finding guidance or helping, if you're wanting to learn divination and stuff like that, I think if you would just look at those things, try to decipher where the energy is going, and um that would be my only recommendation. If
Hmm.
seeking for help and guidance that's the main thing to look out for. What do they do? Do they take your power or give you power?
Hmm.
That's in everything, in every relationship in life.
Yeah. No, that's fundamental. That's so true.
Maybe some of our followers or people watching are definitely like, okay, well, I want to learn this and I'm going to go out and find someone to show me or teach me, or yeah, just to keep that in mind. Ultimately, you are your own authority, and we want to see you shining in your own light.